Last year at campus, we were here celebrating together, and Pastor Ken was sharing with us. One of the things that I was praying about and really asking God to talk about was some things to do with what we wanted to do for camp this year. And we've had some great speakers since we moved here to this campground. We've had Pastor Cliff Purcell for 2 years. Two great guys. Two great guys who did a great job. But one of the things that I really thought about was, when it comes to camp, you know, last year at camp I was here as a youth pastor. I was here as your district president. And I looked around and I said, you know what, we have some great youth pastors on our district. And you guys, if they're from your home church, you get to hear them all the time. But some of the rest of us don't get to hear them that much. And so I thought, why don't we use a curriculum? Why don't we use something that we can take throughout the week, and we can utilize some of the great guys that we have on this district to speak to you. So one night you may hear your own youth pastor one night, but the rest of the night you're not going to hear your own youth pastor. Well, what was funny was last fall, when I started contacting these guys to talk about it, we were all youth pastors. And that was pretty funny, because I was the first to go, and in March I became a senior pastor in Cheyenne at Sunrise Church. And then this summer we have 2 other youth pastors who have stepped down from their ministry positions, but they've still agreed to be here, and they want to share with you guys and be with you guys. So really what started as a panel of 5 youth pastors is down to 2 youth pastors.
Yeah, Alex!
And 2 of us. 2 youth pastors. I said 2 youth pastors. So what we have is tonight you get to hear me. Tomorrow in the morning and in the night, you get to hear Pastor Mike Moline. That's right. On Wednesday, you get Pastor Andy Mendel. Thursday, you get Pastor Lucas Finch. And then the hired gun, the one who's going to come in and make it all work on Friday night, is Pastor Alex Williams.
Promotional 1. Need to buy an Alex wig. Promotional video 1.
Yeah. Okay, so before I get into it, we're going to show first. If you've been looking on Facebook, I put some of the promotional videos that they made for this stuff we're talking about this week, so here's one.
In the beginning, God spoke, and the world came to be, and it was completely and totally good. God breathed life, and humans were created, man and woman, in His image, so that we could enjoy His creation, be with Him, and learn to love each other as we cared for the world. But instead, we made a choice to do our own thing. And as a result, everything became broken. Yet because of God's immense and undying love for us, He refused to give up. And He made a promise that one day He would make everything whole again. This promise came in the form of a child named Jesus. Jesus lived a life of love and teaching that changed everything. Ultimately, Jesus gave Himself up as the atoning sacrifice for our rebellion so that we could once again join with God in the restoration of this world. And this story is still being told. Because of His love, every day we have a choice to do our own thing or to help create a world unbroken.
Okay, so if I was to call some of you up here and ask you where you lived, who wants to do that real quick? Let's pick on some of our graduates here. So you two, come on up. I know you live kind of close to each other. But we have Nicole over here. Come on, Nicole. Nicole, by the way, I like to embarrass people, but this is honorable. Nicole signed up and enlisted this last week for the Air Force.
Woo!
other two will be going to college, and that's great, NNU and University of Wyoming. But I especially wanted to point out, you know, now that I live in an Air Force town and I have Air Force family, that I'm especially proud of Nicole. Thank you for being willing to serve in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so the question is, if I was to get in a car and you were sitting next to me in a car and you were to give me directions to just your hometown from here, how would we do that? So tell me your town and then tell me how to get there.
I'm from Casper, Wyoming, and you go that way, you go to Billings, and then you go that way, Sheridan, and then to Casper, there you go.
Yeah, Wyoming! It's such a small state, it's easy to go that way, you get there.
I'm from Lander. Actually, I'm from Casper. That's where I was born. But that doesn't matter because now I'm from Lander. Anyways. Shut your mouth, ugly green. Anyways, okay. So these are going to be very detailed because I'm assuming that's what you asked for. Okay. So we're going to get on this dirt road and we're just going to travel it. And then once we hit like it's going to be like a bigger road. We're going to take a right on that road, and it'll take us right through Bozeman, and then we're going to get on, I think, I-90 east? Yeah, because we came on the west to get here, right? Yeah, I'm good at this. Yeah, so we're going to take I-90 east, and then when you hit Laurel, Montana, you're going to take a right, and then you're just going to keep going and going and going, and then you're gonna go through Bridger, and I know somebody named Bridger, and that's where we're now. And then you can take multiple different ways. but from Bridger, you're gonna want to follow the signs that take you off to the right to Belfry. You're gonna Belfry back. I was gonna say you're gonna pass that little school, and me too, lots of times. And then it's gonna take you even more, and you're gonna get to Cody. And then from Cody, you're gonna go to Thermopolis. And then from Thermopolis, you're gonna go straight. Yeah, you're gonna stop at the hot springs, and then you're gonna just travel right on through. It's pretty easy. You know, you pass like the little main drag. There's this barbecue place. It's like in a food truck, but it's really good. And then there's like a Maverick and a big gas station. It's the best place to stop because it has the amount of restrooms. And it's across from a hotel. It's like a Super 8. And you're just gonna go straight through the canyon. And then it's just gonna curve around. But it's gonna be one big road. And then you're gonna get to Shoshone and turn right. And then it's going to take you straight to Riverton. And then if you want to stop there and drop me off in my house, that's cool. You just go right on Main Drag and then turn right at the Archers. And then it's right on your left. Otherwise, you go straight through Riverton because it's not very complicated. And then you keep going straight through. And then you
Of course, if I go north from Missoula, if I get to Canada, I've gone too far. If I go south to wherever Cassidy was trying to send me, if I hit Colorado or Utah, I've gone too far. No, I'm done. There is an Ontario, Oregon. It's right on the border of Oregon and Idaho. I-84. Youth pastor. Andy, you guys have any more duct tape back there?
We do.
Alright, so really, I've been to all three of those places. And really the best way to get to those three places is if I pull out a map. Or if I pulled out GPS, put it up on my phone. If I pulled out a Cassidy, I'd be lost somewhere. Next to a taco truck that sells barbecue. Next to a lot of bathrooms in a garage somewhere. I don't know. But all of us, every single one of us has been called to go out onto an adventure. Okay? We have been called by God to be on this adventure that we call life. We go through our ups and our downs. We go in circles trying to find Cassidy's house. We keep heading north until we hit Whitefish. We somehow make it to Casper by following something. Okay? But God has called us to fulfill His mission on this earth. He has called us to be Him, to be His representatives on earth. And He has given us a GPS. He has given us a map. It's right here. Right? Yeah. He has given us His Word that we can read, that we can study, that we can memorize, that we can have discussions with each other, that we can ask our pastors, we can ask college professors, we can ask anybody and people that we trust to learn more about what it means to live on this adventure that God has called us to. And that is what this week is about. A World Unbroken is about spending a week to kind of go through some of that map with you, to help take you from where we are today to the end, which really is just the end of the week, but this is something that continues on even past this week, to Friday night we're going to be talking about restoration. And we'll be looking at all of the plan along the way. I don't know where you guys are coming from this week. I don't know what your home life is like. I don't know if you work, what it's like at work for you. What's it like in your neighborhood? What's it like in less than a month when you start school? Yes, once August hits, I love to throw that out. That in Cheyenne, you guys start on the 28th of August.
But we don't start until the 4th
of September. Some of you start earlier. Sweet. Okay. But we are being actively pursued by God to be His representatives. So tonight we're going to be looking at the word create, and we're going to be looking at creation a little bit. Who's creative in here? Who likes to create things? Okay. What I need, Rachel Knox, you're right there. Stand up, please. Right there. I want you to pick out 10 people to come up here. Okay. Where do we find the creation story in the Bible? Genesis chapter 1 and 2. The very beginning, right? It's the very first thing recorded. What I want you guys to do, because what we read in Genesis is we read how God created something brand new, something never before done. And so what I want you guys to do is spend a few minutes. We're going to watch the video, and then I'm going to have a couple things to say. But I want you to use that Play-Doh and create something unique, something creative with it, okay? You can't get it open. Somebody help her get it open, please. No, by yourself. You're one little ball of Play-Doh. It's all of you. And then maybe we can transform them all together into one huge clump. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so you guys go ahead and you start working on something creative. Andy, go ahead.
This darkness may have had its day, but my God was dreaming. And from his mouth he gave a breath, which sent the light out streaming. His dream was as big as roaring waters. His dream was like the ocean. His dream was vast like mountain ranges, and teeming life in motion. His dream was like the stars in heaven. He set them all ablaze. He painted blue, pulled near the sun, and turned the nights to days. His dream was creatures big and small. He gave them all a place. He set them running among the grounds from which sprung scents and tastes. His dream was for the dust to rise and make a form like his. His dream was to dance beside the dust and fill it with a kiss. His dream was reds and greens and blues, a symphony of sound, perfect in its tune and tempo, his glory all around. His dream was for these dusty souls to take their place beside him, conducting all that he had made as he would gently guide them. And underneath it all was love that set the dreamer dreaming, that led his hands to crafting clouds and set the rivers streaming. His dream was for his beloved who were made to look like him, that every step would show his love, that they might live within, that they might learn to dream as he and love as he had shown, and care for things as noble stewards instead of ones who own. His love is like the greatest light, and over all it's beaming. Though darkness may have had its day, my God is dreaming.
So God's plan creates something that was far different from anything else ever seen. We don't know what made him decide to do it, but we just know from Genesis 1 and 2 that he decided to create this planet and everything in it. If you don't think God enjoys life, if you don't think God has a sense of humor, if you don't think God is creative, then why don't we spend some more time looking at creation around us? I love to imagine, and when I as a youth pastor was teaching on creation, I always like to say, you know, it's like God had a big ball of Play-Doh. He had a ball of Play-Doh in his hand. And he spent time with that formless ball. And he created valleys. He created land. He created mountains. He created places for the sea and the lakes and all that kind of stuff to go. And then just when he thought that was enough, he decided there needed to be life on that planet. He decided that we need to have more to it. And so then he created animals. He created plants. And I'm sure as he was creating those things, he got very excited. He was probably giggling a little bit. Like, you know, when you guys plant, when you guys do things and it goes together like it's supposed to, don't you get a little hyper about it? What makes you think God didn't do that? In the original A-Team movie, Hannibal, the leader, would always say, I love it when a plan comes together. And he'd have a big smile on his face. That's God, right? He's like, I love it when a plan comes together. Look at this. Look at what I created. And then he creates everything, and then he decides, you know what, I need someone to represent me on earth. So he creates Adam. And he says, Adam, you got an important job to do. You got an important job to do, Adam. You need to name everything on earth. It's just a little task, right? I love it. I don't know how many of you guys know the comedian Brad Stein. He's very funny. He does a lot of, he's a Christian, but he does a lot of kind of more environmental and politics stuff. But he talked about creation. He said, you know what? God told Adam, you name everything. And Adam starts out by naming things really great names, right? Giraffe, elephant, hippopotamus. You guys know this, huh? But by the end, he's so tired that he can't think anymore, so he starts naming them by what they do. I don't know, fly, right? So that is just a small job that Adam had to do to create something. You guys had a few minutes to create something. How'd it go? What I want you to do is the Play-Doh is yours to keep, so you can play with it all week. But I want you to show it off and walk down the center aisle to the back and then go to the sides to come back to your seats wherever they are. But I want you just to show it off. Come on, walk down the runway. Come on. Come on, run down the runway. I made a squishy ball, okay? But these guys, show off your stuff. Make sure everybody can see what you created. Because you created something great. Okay? Show it to the camera. Make sure you show it to the camera.
Dolphin. Yeah.
Nice. Which camera do I show it to?
Just both of them. It's mine.
Yeah. It's a twig.
Sweet. I love it.
It's a ball.
Nice.
It's a dinosaur.
Show off to the camera.
Alright. Go ahead and go back to your seat. Play-Doh's yours to keep. Have fun with it all week long. Play-Doh's all yours. God was ready to create something magnificent. He was ready to create something great, something that's never been there before. In Genesis 1, verse 3, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. What does light do? Shines. It illuminates the dark. You know what? That is awesome. That was the exact answer I was looking for. Hardly ever do I get it. It illuminates the dark, right? When light shows up, dark cannot exist. Okay? Dark can show up, but it can't put out light. Light shows up and it can put out dark. Okay? But what was God trying to enlighten? What was God trying to show light to? Right? What did he do next? Okay, when it goes down to it, God says, "Let there be light," which puts into action all of creation, right? It says, "Let there be something new, something far more incredible than ever before. Let me be revealed to all this stuff that I have created." And most of all, God, when he is saying, "Let me be revealed," he is saying, "Let there be love. Let there be community." Right? God created this place to be his cosmic temple, his place to dwell. And then on the seventh day, he pronounces it good. And then he rests. In 1 John, we read these words. 1 John 1:5. "This is the message we have heard from him and declared to you. God is light. In him there is no darkness at all." In the process, God created humans in his own image. What does it mean to be made in God's image? What does it mean to be made in his image? Ooh, everyone knew what light was for. Okay? To be made in his image. You have something, Caleb? It's alright. We're all friends here. We'll laugh all at once. I'm just kidding. We're all friends here. Okay. While you're thinking. Okay. Let me know if you remember. Okay. To be made in his likeness doesn't mean that God looked into the mirror and carved out us to look exactly like him. Okay? Because really, if we contain God to a body image, then we limit God. We limit his power. He is beyond that for us. Alright? To be made in his likeness is to love like he does. That's on the right track. That's real good. See? You came up with something great. Right? That's exactly what I'm heading. Okay, to be made in his likeness is not just limited to this, but it means that we were made smarter than the animals. Okay? We were made to be able to think, to be able to make choices, to know the difference between right and wrong. My dog, he likes to keep doing things over and over again. No matter how many times I yell at him, he still likes to go back and do some of the things he's not supposed to do. My son, on the other hand, if I have to tell him more than 2 times, we have some words. And some of you know what that means with your parents, to have some words. Okay? And that can be something as simple as, you need a timeout, to you're grounded forever, to you have to pick up after the dog for a week. Okay? It also means, though, that we have souls, right? The camp dog, he was in here earlier and I shoot him out. He doesn't need to come in for chapel. All dogs go to heaven, right? So, he doesn't have a soul. He's fine. He's taken care of. But we have a soul. We have spiritual natures that are made and created so that we can connect with him. Being made in the image of God means that we were created to be his representatives on this earth. You know, in the old days with the temple, especially in the Old Testament, you read about the temple, and in the Catholic Church, they have priests who take care of God's temple. Okay, we were created to be like his priest on earth. We are there to represent him to the earth. And that's what we're talking about. We are the expression of all that he is, We have the ability to fully love, like He loved us, like He loves all of us. We have the ability to express and be relational with each other and to be spiritual. We are built to be His representatives in relation to each other, okay, and to Him. Being a follower of God is not about it's not about me and what I want. It's about we. It's about what we can do together. Okay? And that's one of the things that sin, when it came in and hurt creation, sin came in and made it all about me. Whatever you learn about sin, the very bottom foundation of sin always is selfishness. It always starts with, I wanted more. I need more money. I need this. I need that. I need more power. And then it builds from there. But God created everything and said it is good. But meanwhile, He gave us the choice, right? He gave us the ability to choose right or wrong. Choose to follow Him or not. Why would He do such a crazy thing? Anybody know? Why would He do such a crazy thing?
So, if you love something, you have to let it go. And if it comes back, your story.
Okay.
And it was not really working in the first place.
So the old wives' tale or proverb, whatever it is, if you love something, let it go. It comes back to you, and then it was meant to be. Okay? Okay, anybody else? What else on top of that? That's a good answer. That is a good answer. Question is, why would He give us the right to choose?
Because if we were forced to do it, then it wouldn't mean so much. If we have the right to choose, then He knows how much He needs us.
If you're forced to do something, to help somebody, if you're forced to help somebody, if you're forced to do something, when you're at home and you're forced to take out the trash, you're kind of grumpy about it, aren't you? Especially because Mom had to ask you 10 times to take out the trash. All I wanted was to watch the end of the movie, and then I was going to do it anyway. So it's not as fun. Okay? It's not as good. But when you decide to serve something, when you decide to do something because you want to, okay, so one day you decide, you get home from school and your mom's not there yet, and you realize that trash is overflowing and you take it out, you feel a little better about yourself because, first of all, you didn't have to be nagged to get it done, but also your mom's a lot happier with you. Okay? God didn't create us to be robots. He didn't create us to be clones, to do exactly the same thing, to serve Him and worship Him, because it's not always as sincere. It's more sincere when we choose to follow Him, when we choose to worship Him, when we choose to do things because we want to, because He first loved us. And that's what we're talking about. When it comes to being relational, when it comes to working together, but there's a gap. Sin created a gap. And so, Andy, let's go ahead and go to the next slide, I believe. Okay, so what we have is we have three parts to creation. We are created whole, there's separated, broken, and then there's restored. And then our relationship to God, self, and others, and world. Go ahead and go to the next one. So we were created whole when creation was first made before sin. Okay? When it came to our relationship with God, there was union. Okay? Right? God came and hung out with Adam and Eve. They did things, they talked, all that kind of stuff. When it came to self, when it came to myself in that time of creation, there was peace. Right? I wasn't worried about what other people thought of me. What was the first thing Adam and Eve did when they sinned? They covered themselves, right? They realized they were naked and they were embarrassed. Okay? But there was peace. When it came to others, working with others, there was community, a sense of community. And when it came to the world, when it came to creation, there was pure enjoyment out of being a part of creation. Along came sin that created a separation. Go ahead to the next one. So when it came to that separation, when it came to our relationship with God, there created a disunion with Him. We were separated, right? When it came to ourselves, we were ashamed. Okay? I'm sure if I asked how many people have issues with your personal appearance, that if you were honest, most of you would raise your hand. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but most of you would raise your hands, right? There's something you don't like about yourself. That's the result of sin. Okay, so there's shame. When it came to others, there's blame. What was the first thing Adam did? She made me eat it. Well, Eve? Well, the snake, he told me to eat it. Right? There was blame then. There was no longer that trust, that community. And then, of course, they got expelled out of creation, out of the Garden of Eden. Okay? Now, the next line. You can't see that very well, but it says us. That little box up there between separate and restored, it says us. That is where we are in the story. Okay? That is where we are in the story. Until we decide that we need to accept God's presence in the world, that we accept the sacrifice of Jesus Christ as our Savior, and we get restored, that's what we're working through all week. So when we get to the restored, though, we have a reunion with God. Okay? Our relationship is fixed. We're able to come back together with Him. When it comes to ourselves, we're back at peace with ourselves. We're okay with our abilities. We're okay with what we can do and can't do. Because what we can do, we do it all for God's glory, not to please ourselves. When it comes to others, we're back to kind of a kingdom unity. A kingdom community, it says there, but a unity amongst us. The sad thing is that in a lot of churches, a lot of youth groups, probably your youth groups, there's people that gossip. There's people that get angry with each other. There's people that cause some disunity. And those are the places where Satan likes to attack the most, because he doesn't want us to get together like we're supposed to. But we're united again as a community inside the kingdom of heaven. And then when it comes to the world, all things are made new. Paul says in 2 Corinthians 5:17 that when we accept Christ into our lives, we're made into a new creation.
Amen.
All things are new to us. And that's what we're looking at.
Amen.
Fortunately for us, God did one more thing to reach out to us, to reach out to His representatives. He sent Jesus. He sent Himself incarnate to help us find new life. Jesus gave us the ability to have a reunion of being whole again. Through Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, we are allowed to live holy lives. Lives not just for ourselves, not brought back together just for ourselves, but so that we can then help mend the world around us. One of the things that your generation is a part of, more than any other generation, is taking care of this planet. After years of wasting things. And when it comes to conservation and environmentalist things, you know what? I'm not extreme about it, but I believe that God intended us to take care of it and to not be wasteful of it. And so we just need to be wise in how we use the things that we use. And that's where this comes together for us. That Jesus was sent so that we could then be made new agents for Him, new representatives for Him on this kingdom, on this earth, to take care of the planet, people, animals, everybody. And those are the things we're talking about this week. Our task is not just to reign, but to mediate God's grace to others and to intercede with God for others. These things shouldn't be done to gain God's approval, but because as His creation, because as His ambassadors, as His priests, we are called to do so because we are His image bearers. And so when it comes to create, we need to remember we were created by Him for a purpose.